the basic theme was to work with a ream of common A4 paper, 80 GSM, and I had done an improvisation kind of workshop event, performance art workshop event in Java, in Solo, Indonesia, central in Java, and Melati Suridjomo and Boris Nieslony were the leaders of the workshop, which preceded Undisclosed Territory, a performance art festival. So one of the exercises that came up, sometimes we proposed things, and was to work with a ream of paper, which is why I acknowledged Boris. So I worked with the paper. I tried to remember what we'd done in that performance workshop, and I knew that we were in a glass cube with walls, so I thought of papering the walls with just using water so that I didn't have to make a mess. So that was a way of occluding the space gradually from the sight of the viewers outside. And I guess there's always the notion of messages, or paper usually has some writing or text or information on it. I've always used improvisation in my practice, and I began really as a movement artist and a dancer, and I worked with free improvising musicians. So we would rehearse improvisation and then perform improvisation, which means to say that the rehearsals and the performance were not the same. But now I use, in my ensemble works or directing, I'll use improvisation as a means towards a choreography. But I guess improvisers these days call improvisation real-time choreography or real-time composition. I brought the mirrors along, not knowing how I would use them exactly, but as an addition, just an additional rectangular frame. Improvisation and collaboration are both essential core parts of my practice, yeah. In the old days, I often performed in a black suit and a white shirt, which came from Tanaka's ensemble. So there's that whole Eastern European and Japanese, the black suit. Every man in Japan owns a black suit and white shirt as their formal attire for a funeral or a wedding. And I thought black mightn't read well in that space. I wasn't sure how clear it would be inside the cube. But because I knew I was going to try and apply the paper to my flesh, at least part of my flesh, my torso, I thought it would be nice to be formal and then reveal again. And also I assumed that nobody would be wearing suits in the venue. So it's a kind of character. Yeah, the pot calling the kettle black. It's almost not a performance, but it's a concept I've had for quite a few years and never realised. So I might do this again. And it's a series of, it's an inside. It's the inside-outside theme. So it relates to body, the inside and outside of the body, what is proper to the body and what is not proper to the body, and architecture. And I'm very often relate space, architecture, and body and performance together, interrelate them. So container and contained, and I'm very interested in notions about diaspora currently. So I guess as soon as something is outside where it belongs, i.e. the paint in the pot, it becomes a diaspora. So it's an action. Goes back, I guess, to a performance I did at the ACP actually years ago, where I spent a week in a room and gradually filled up the room with charcoal drawings around the walls, so it became darker. But it's also just that yin and yang, I guess. So the contents of the paint can being the material to coat the paint can itself until the paint is consumed. But of course in 2.5 hours that's going to be impossible. And I have a subsequent one which I have never done, but I've been thinking of for years, just simply to be in residence somewhere for some weeks and to have a larger can of white and a larger can of black and to coat them oppositely. So it's kind of, I guess the idea came about with my desire to make a sculpture through action. It's not referencing painting per se. Yeah. Yeah.